Hi folks, I'm just going to do a wee demonstration video here on how your van operates. So I'll just start you off here. We'll go inside and I'll go through a few bits and pieces for you. So the first thing we have here is your control panel. Let me switch off that light there. And when you come into the van, you switch it on and off here. So that's the van on. See the 12 volt here. When the van's plugged in, this little yellow light here light up to tell you that there's power coming into the van. So it's handy to know if you're in a campsite to keep an eye on that somebody doesn't plug you out or the trip doesn't go out in the post. So that's an indicator that your 220 volt is coming in. That's just a spare switch, and these here are just temperatures and times. And over the side here now is your displays to show you your voltage on your leisure battery is on, and the engine battery is on the top. See that top green scale there, which is this one here. So the first one here shows you your engine battery, and it's up at about 12.5. Now when you start your engine, that'll go on up, and the same with your leisure. See the leisure's a 14 there now. Well, they'll both go up when you start the engine or when you plug in the van. And if your leisure battery goes very low, this wee red light will light up. So you'll probably never ever see that, but if you're wild camping and you drive it right into the red here, you'll get this red light coming on. Now the only thing I would say about batteries is we'd recommend that you plug the van in at least 2 days every fortnight to keep your leisure battery charged up, especially over the winter time when you're not maybe using the van as much. And throughout the year as well, if you're not using the van for any period of time that it's sitting around, just plug it in for a couple of days every fortnight or so, and that'll keep your leisure batteries right. We've tested all the batteries and they're all good, so it's easy enough to just plug it in as often as you can. It'll charge, as I say, off the engine as well when you're driving along. So the next thing we're looking at here is just your fresh water tank, and it's just underneath this seat here. You just lift up the board here and you can see it comes in here through, that's your filler from outside, and that's an overflow pipe in case you forget to take out your hose. And I've just taken off this cap. You can see your pumps inside the tank, and if you look over here you see that wee handle there is your plug for draining the fresh water tank. So the moment you can see it's pushed down, what you do is you lift that T part of it up and actually just pull it out, and it'll leave a hole in the tank and it'll drain the tank out onto the street, and then you push it back in and then fold that handle back over it again. So that's just your fresh water tank. So the next thing we're looking at here is your fridge. This is the main control knob for it here, and you can see at the moment it's off, and you have 3 different settings. The first setting is gas, the second setting is your mains when you're plugged in, and the third setting is the battery, your engine battery that's coming off the actual engine when you're driving. So the plan would be really to leave it on mains and freeze up the fridge, and putting it onto the battery then just keeps it going as you're driving. It just keeps the fridge cool. It'll not really freeze the fridge up, it'll take too long. You should have the fridge actually frozen already and then switch it on to the battery when you're traveling. And you just remember to do that when you're leaving campsites or leaving home. If you're wild camping, you're not plugged in, you're going to have to just go on gas. So you leave it on gas and you'll come across here, and you can see now what we're looking at here. There's a wee glass here, and you can see the wee red line. Now when we light the gas now, that red line goes up into the green section, and how we light the gas is just simple enough. We'll just press that in. Now it might take a couple of seconds, and that's a lit already. You can see it going up, and just keep holding it in and keep holding it in until it goes into the green. And once it's in the green, you can take your finger off and it should stay in the green. So that's your indication that your gas is lit on your fridge. You just look at that wee glass indicator there, and you can see the red lines going into the green. So we come across here now and we switch your gas off or switch off the fridge. You'll see that wee red line will just drop down. You see it dropping there already, and that's the gas in your fridge going off. So that's all there is to your fridge. There's a wee catch here for opening and closing, and that's really it. So the next thing we're looking at here is your Truma heater controller. Now this heats the van and it heats the water. And at the moment you can see we're working off the wee nub there. It's just on 0, so that's the heater off. The first one down here is heating the van. So if we bring that down to here, we'll bring on the green light, which means the heater's actually firing up now and it's going to run okay. Now once you get the green light, that means everything's working okay. If you ever get a red light on that, you need to go out and check your gases and switched off. So we have the green light there now, and the boiler's fired up, and that's heating the van, and this is the temperature you want to heat the van at, and it goes from 1 the whole way up to 9. Now in around 5 or so is usually sufficient. It'll heat up the van and it'll cut itself in and out. If you leave it at 9, it'll just blow all day. It'll never really shut itself off. So you can mess about with the temperatures yourself depending on how warm you want the van. So that's heating the van, and that's the temperature you want to heat the van at, 1 to 9. The next setting down here at the bottom is heating the van and heating the water at 60 degrees. And you can see we brought on the wee yellow light. The yellow light indicates that we're heating water. Now as soon as that goes out, then that's showing you that the heater has heated the water that's in the boiler to 60 degrees. And the same applies then when we go for at the top here for hot water only. We have 40 degrees or 60 degrees. So in the summertime you don't want heating, all you want is hot water. That's the choice you have. Now 40 degrees is really for in and around the kitchens, and 60 is for having a shower. And the way we would do that, you'd leave it at 40 and let the yellow light go out, and about 10 minutes before you want to have the shower, flick that on to 60. And the yellow light will come back on and it'll give you the maximum amount of hot water. So 60 is really for having showers. It's a bit too hot for the kitchen, and 40 is really just for general use. So that's hot water at 60, hot water at 40, the heater's off at 0, heating the van and the water. And this dial on the inside is just the temperature for heating the van. So the next thing we're going to look at is the heater itself. It's in this wee cupboard underneath the wardrobe. So this is your heater, and the only thing you're going to ever have to look at is this valve here. This is called a frost valve, and how this operates is at 2 degrees this little bit here will drop down and it'll open the valve and it'll drain all the water that's inside this boiler out onto the street, and it also depressurizes all your taps. So if that ever drops down, you're going to have no pressure in your taps, especially in your hot system. You'll notice it. So anytime that you have any trouble with your taps, you'll have to come in here and check that. So at 2 degrees, to recap, that'll drop down and it'll drain all the water out of the water tank. So you can actually do that yourself. You can push it down like that to winterize your van. Now what I mean by winterizing the van is draining all the water out of your van in the winter time. So in the frost, you'll come along, you'll push that down, you'll come up here now and you'll open all your taps in between hot and cold. You have hot on one side and you have cold on the other, which is over this way. So sort of in between the two, open your tap, and all the water, you can hear gurgling there now, all the water is going to leave your tap here now and go down and go out through that valve. And what we would recommend is you even blow into that tap if you can, if it's really, really frosty, just to get rid of the extra water from around the tap head to stop you damaging the tap, because the taps can be quite expensive. So that's one thing, a wee tip just that you can do in the really severe frost where it's like going really -3 or 4, is to open your taps in between hot and cold, open your valve and actually blow in here. And don't forget to do your shower and your tap in your bathroom as well. So once you have all that done and you can drain your tanks, that's the van empty of water. So when you come back then to use the van, what you'll do is you'll come in here, pull this up, switch on your van and open your hot tap in your kitchen. Now the hot tap then will fill up, will bring on the pump, and the pump will fill up your water heater first and blow all the air out through your tap, and eventually you'll get a free flow, and that's you back in action. But you can ring us at any stage that you're not sure of any of this. It's all fairly straightforward, and once you've done it a few times, it's easy enough. The frost valve itself, if at any stage it's too cold and you want to use the van, and every time you pull that up it drops down, if you just switch the heating on to actually heating at all, it'll bring voltage down through these wee wires, and that'll stay up itself. No, it'll stay up properly. So don't be putting cable ties or anything, or pegs or anything on these. There's no need to. You switch on your heating and this will stay up every time. So it means you can use this in the winter time as well, no problem at all. So what we're looking at here now is just in the very bottom of your wardrobe, and that's your main trips there in the back, and they should be up the way. It's just one trip switch for the whole van, so that's for your 220 volt coming in. And we're looking at your toilet here now. The toilet flushes here. You need to have the van switched on for the pump to work. You flush it here by pressing the blue button, and you'll get a red light on here when the cassette's full and needs emptied. You'll get a red light on there. And your shutters here. If you have children, always make sure that they push it right back. See that last wee bit? That's the important bit for sealing it. Just make sure that they push that back. And this piece here just flops around to make your shower. So it just flops around there to make your shower, and your light switches here in the corner. So we're just outside the van here, and there's a few things I need to show you. If we go under it, into the passenger seat here, you can see your main, this is all your main fuses for your 12 volt. There's a little cover here, just goes over, that wee cover there just goes over the top of it. You just take the cover off, and that's your main control box there with all your fuses on it. And there's wee explanations probably in German too, but you can see there at the bottom, no pump there at the end and stuff. They're just for lights, pumps and bits and bobs inside the van. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a barbecue point here at the side, and there's a fitting for this inside the blue bag. You just put it on there and turn it and connect your hose on for your barbecue onto it. If you come down here, you'll see a hole and there's a little handle. This is for your wastewater. So what you do is you just put that on there, and when you turn that, it releases your wastewater. So you just, that's all you do there with the handle, and that's it closed. So I'll just leave that open there now, let it drain out. And up here, if you're wondering what that is, that's just the exhaust from your heater. When your heater's running, you might see a bit of steam coming out of that at the time. You have your 220 volt plug in here, and then moving around then into your boot. In your boot you have your jack and wheel brace and your spare wheel. You have an extra socket on here as well, and another, looks like a barbecue point here as well. And you have your on handle, and the handle here, the silver one, is for your corner steadies, which are underneath. You just wind them down. And you have a fairly nice big boot in here as well, and a bit of a light here as well. So we're just here at your gas locker. So what you have here is just this propane gas we run the campers on. We wouldn't recommend ever to use butane. It's propane's the only stuff for the vans. That's your regulator. You move across here to your valve on top of the tank. You turn that way, clockwise to shut the valve, and anti-clockwise to open it. So we'll just leave that closed for you now. To change the hose, this nut here actually turns clockwise to loosen. So it actually goes the opposite way. It goes clockwise this way to loosen, and anti-clockwise to tighten. And there's a little rubber ring on the hose itself that you need to just keep an eye on that it doesn't get damaged. And you have enough room there for a second cylinder. And we have a spanner for you as well for tightening that there. So we're just looking here at your toilet cassette. You can see here we have a thing called a SOG unit. And how that operates is that every time you open the shutter, there's a little this little fan comes on and sucks all the air out of the cassette, out of the actual toilet itself. It creates sort of negative pressure, so there's no smells going up the way. You just disconnect that hose when you're changing your cassette. The cassette just clips off here, and you empty it out through this yellow cap here. So we're just moving around your cab here. You have your reverse camera. Comes on when you go into reverse. This button here is your aircon button, if you want cold air. Your bonnet pull is down here at the front, and that's just an adjuster for your steering. And I'll give you a rundown now in your engine bay. Your diesel goes in here in the front, and around here you have your window wash and your dipstick here for your engine batteries in the corner. And the timing belt was done on the 4th 2017, so you get 5 years out of your belt, so that doesn't have to be done for another 2 years. And the last thing, folks, this is your water filler here for your fresh water in. So you only one filler for the whole van, that's it there. So you have a wee ladder here on top of your bed for the back bed, and there's a ladder too for your bed at the Luton as well. So, and you have a couple of extra sockets and TV points here as well. And there's a TV bracket there, and another one at the front inside the cupboard if you want to fit a couple of TVs. And there's a manual satellite there on it. You need a sat finder for the end of the cable to figure out your different angles and stuff on that, but it should work okay if you get your angles right. So that's what that is there. It's a manual satellite, and you have a fire extinguisher, and we put new batteries in your smoke alarm. And the only other thing really is in your skylights is to make sure you have them closed when you're driving. And your windows and stuff are fairly straightforward. they all just clip in and around like that, you know. And you have your different blinds and your window catches and just your locks and stuff on them, so you won't be too long getting to know how everything operates. But you can ring us at any time you need a hand with anything or there's anything you're not sure of. And thanks very much and good luck with your new van.